Good evening and welcome to JJ Wins in Holiday City. It's Sports Weekly, driven by Terry Hendricks Ford and brought to you by Terry Hendricks and JJ Wins, Bryan Parks and Rec Department, Fackler Monument Company, and the main stops of Northwest Ohio. It's our final show of 2022. We have a couple of weeks off before jumping back into the final few months of Sports Weekly, and a good show here tonight in our holiday edition of the show. We've got a pair of Pettisville basketball coaches on with us, girls coach Jason Waldvogel and boys coach Brian Leppelmeier, and we lead things off with Stryker girls basketball coach Conner Varner. Conner, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. What a terrific start to the season for Stryker girls basketball at 6-1. We'll dive into that in just a little bit. 11-win year last year, and you know, you returned 3 starters, so you had, and led by the player of the year in the BBC and Sage Willis, but you have other pieces back. I want to go back to season ends. Tell me a little bit about off-season for Stryker girls basketball.
Yeah, we definitely came back in the summer and worked hard through June. We're in a league on Tuesday nights, and we showed up for practice in the morning. We'd come back on Tuesday nights and work on things that we just practiced, and that freshman class that has came in over the summer has worked their butts off and pushed us, you know, on the varsity end, and one of them is playing for us now too. So off-season was huge for us. You know,
and you have a leader like Sage. I'm sure she kind of gets people organized, and your other upperclassmen that play for you as well. But I'm glad you mentioned the freshmen here early, because we just saw you for the first time, and Susanna Hollabaugh and I walked away thinking they're going to be pushing for more and more time as the year goes on. I know you have a balance with lower numbers, but when you mention freshmen and upperclassmen, it's important to find that balance and cohesiveness and chemistry, because everybody's got to buy in. Did you get that from the upperclassmen? It sounds like you did.
Yeah, we have, you know, a couple of juniors who are floating back and forth, JV varsity with those 6 quarters, and Taylor Resmo and Laura Life have definitely taken over that leadership role as juniors on JV and playing some varsity minutes, and those freshmen look up to those couple girls and the rest of the upperclassmen and have taken their advice, and they've just been 2 great leaders for us.
All right, talk a little bit about now as you jumped into the preseason, what was that like for you guys in terms of scrimmages and everything?
Yeah, we had a few scrimmages and had a couple injuries towards the beginning, so a couple of them we had to cancel, but everyone's back and healthy now, and we learned a lot from those scrimmages, just coming down to even subbing kids in and out, you know, with our low numbers, how it was going to work, and you know, mixing girls in and who works good with who, and those definitely helped us out for game 1.
How do you do that? How do you handle, let's say, practice situations now in season when you have low numbers, and your numbers unfortunately got a little bit lower here recently as well? So how do you handle practices and teaching and all that? And I mean, does that involve you guys, coaches, getting in drills maybe a little bit here and there as well? How do you handle all of that?
Yeah, you know, sometimes Coach K and I step in and have to be some, you know, dummies out there with the girls driving into us, but, you know, we still have the same expectations for practice when it comes to, you know, our effort and, you know, still diving on the floor for loose balls, all that sort of thing. It's just we do a lot of subbing back and forth from, you know, blue to white, and rotating girls in and out, and no one really has breaks in practice a whole lot unless I call the whole team off, but they've worked really hard and done really well with that, and everyone's getting reps, everyone's in the play, and that's helped us out in games too. So
what do you like about this team as you've watched this, and again, we're not quite to the halfway point, but as you watch this season unfold, what do you like about this group in practice and in games, Conner?
I'm really impressed with our defensive aggressiveness that we've kind of built upon game by game. We're able to pressure the ball and get some deflections and steals, and then offensively there's been, you know, the focus is on Sage a lot, but there's been a lot of girls who've stepped up. You know, Lexi's hit big shots, Caitlin's hit big shots, Emma's beasted up in the post, Abby Oberlin's hit a few big shots when she's went in as a freshman, and everyone's stepping up on that offensive end. It's good to see after the game, you know, when everyone's participating and contributing 3, 4, 7 points here and there.
You're used to it by now with teams ganging up, so to speak, on Sage Willis. So has that been a growing process for those other kids throughout her time there, and maybe even particular when you've had some youth playing, and in how, in fact, you do that and how you step up when maybe she's getting doubled or they're face guarding her, whatever the defense might be.
Yeah, that's something we've worked on as a team. She's going to get double, triple teamed, and just being ready to have her feet set on the outside, getting a passing lane. And a lot of girls have stepped up and did that this year. And we've also talked, with Sage being able to make a good pass out and hit her teammates. And, she's definitely not a selfish player, and I don't think we have one on our team who is selfish. So we're willing to pass the ball to whoever's open and, take the best shot that we can get.
Conner, you mentioned the defensive end, and I feel like now in your third season, you feel more comfortable with this group. It's always been maybe a little bit more of a mix and match in the half court, but seeing you against Hicksville the other night, and I know that was part of the game plan, challenge their young guards, but you feel more comfortable now playing full court pressure now with this group.
Yeah, with low numbers, it's hard. Sometimes we got to get breaks, and sometimes we just take timeouts to give them a breather. Yeah, but we definitely have the quickness and athletic abilities to pressure the ball, and that's something we're going to continue to work on. And going back to those freshmen are quick too. So at times I feel comfortable being able to throw them in and play defense and press the other team. So something we've really worked on. Where
does this group, and every coach is going to pick a couple of things, but where does this group need to improve? Where do you need to get better, even in the middle of a great start?
I think, on the offensive end, just continuing to get more confident with, getting to the basket, everyone on the team, on the varsity and JV in general, and being stronger going up to the rim and finishing. We get a lot of good looks, but sometimes we just don't finish around the basket, so that's something that we've been working on the last couple of practices here as well.
Slowly but surely, and I know we've talked about freshmen, there are other kids as well, you're developing depth. Where do you feel like, I guess, your comfort level is right now? 7? For sure. 8? Where are you at right now, or does it depend on the night? Where do you feel most comfortable?
I think it kind of just depends on the night and who we're playing as well, but I feel comfortable sitting all those freshmen right now. We have 15 jerseys, and so, there's not really anyone who's not sitting varsity, and it kind of just comes down to how that JV team, plays, and then who I'm comfortable playing in that varsity game. But also in practices, we're all working hard, so I'm confident, throwing anyone in the ball game at the point. It just kind of depends on who we're playing in matchups.
All right, let's talk about the first 7 that you've played now at 6-1. We won't mention who you lost your opener to. He might mention it when he's on next. That would be Uncle Jason. But you know what? It was a non-conference loss for you, right? It wasn't even a BBC loss. So you rebound, that's an opening night loss, and you've rattled off 6 straight. Tell me about some of the games and opponents that you've seen here in the first third of the season.
Yeah, to start our season off, our first 4 games are away, so that's just a tough way to start the season as it is. But that first loss did hit us hard, but I think we've bounced back from it and kind of used it as a learning experience and have built upon that and not taken any other game after that for granted. And I think just going back to our defense, we've been up and down offensively in different quarters, but if we look back at each game, we've done things well defensively, and that's something we just kind of try to get through our girls' heads is defense is consistent, and offense will come after that.
Want to ask you, so you mentioned the high school numbers. What are numbers like down through junior high right now?
Yeah, we're just playing one team actually, one 8th grade team, so I think we have 8 girls total, so still not great numbers at that end, but the girls who are there are willing to work. So.
What about the youth program? Do you have a lot there?
6th grade we have enough for about 2 teams, and 4th and 5th we have a combined team for 4th and 5th grade.
So at least the feeder program numbers are a little bit better.
Yeah, yep.
You're getting ready to start the BBC. Actually, that's tomorrow night with North Central.
Friday.
How do you feel about the conference this year as you get ready to start play?
Yeah, it's really open in my opinion. There's teams who, they're coming out and giving you your best every night, and in my opinion, there's not one clear front runner, and each of these teams have ability to win on any night, so I think it's pretty wide open.
And you look at your schedule, I have the next few games marked off for you, or Central, and then in the Bryan term, you play Bryan?
Yep, we play Bryan first.
So you get Bryan. You've already played Swanton. You got Archibald and Wasion later.
Yep, Tenora's a good team. We have them.
Tenora's on it. Delta's on it. And I know Delta's a little bit down, but Stryker, that's something Stryker's always done, is play that NWOAL-like schedule, plus Ayersville later, right?
Yep.
And that's a really good conference team in the GMC. All of that, question being, talk about why that schedule, you like to load that up at Stryker. Wins, losses kind of thrown out the window.
Yeah, I think it just prepares us, for the important part of the season, which is, tournament time. So, playing those tougher teams and bigger schools really prepares us for when it comes down and, where it's win or lose, win or go home. And I think that really prepares us for when it comes time to tournament and, we're mentally focused against those bigger teams that we may be able to play.
Suzanne and I, after watching Monday night, we walked away and said, and they may seem like a little bit of an obvious statement, but it doesn't always work out this way. This is your third year. We thought just watching you on the sideline and coaching and your demeanor and everything, this is the most comfortable you look right now. Is that a fair assessment? Is this the most comfortable you feel now, kind of as you've eased in as the head coach at Stryker?
Yeah, I think, that's pretty accurate, especially, my first season was COVID, and last year we were still struggling with some COVID issues as well. So this is the first, year I feel comfortable in what the season is, as a coaching standpoint. And I have, Molly Kidston there on my side helping me too. And she's just someone who really hones in on the coaching, like the assistant role of helping me with film and practice planning. And, we're always calling each other after practice on weekends. There's probably not one day goes by that we're not texting or calling each other or sharing posts on Instagram or Facebook about, things to show the girls. So,
and that's something too worth noting. You did have to tweak your staff a little bit. Was that out of, was it just like your other assistants that you had the first 2 years had other obligations?
Yeah, they just had some conflicts with their work schedules, and, they're still helping us out when they can. And Brittany Haynes, who helped us last year, is helping with the elementary program. So, alumni is still very much involved, just maybe in different roles this year.
And that's where I was going next. So Molly came up from junior high, right?
Yep, she was in junior high and came up. And
Stryker is the only one that I can really think of that we've seen over all this time. Edgerton has a lot of the same people that you see come to games, and a lot of alumni are there. The Stryker girls has always been one we've always talked about it on a Tuesday night. We look out there and there's 12 girls that played at Stryker that are there and in the crowd on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's something, that we really pride ourselves on, and that started with Coach Brown and his program and, what he instilled in the program. And he's someone I still talk to on a daily basis, too, about the game. But, we really try to make it a family atmosphere and let the girls know we're there from more than just a basketball purpose. And that's why people still come to those games, is because of that atmosphere.
And I saw on social media you're getting ready for a big alumni day, right?
Yep, next Thursday we have a alumni practice and try to get, even if people want to come and watch or play, and we have a lunch afterwards and I'll hang out and we'll open it up for the girls to talk to, our current players, and it's something really cool that we do every year.
Did you have pretty good turnout from year to year when you've done these 2 years?
Yeah,
I know you maybe didn't do it that first year, but...
Yeah, there's usually 20 plus people there, so, that's for a smaller school. It's pretty amazing to have people coming back from, 2000 to 2020, so there's lots of girls coming back.
So you start the conference schedule, home with North Central on Friday night. Two-part question. One, what do you know about North Central other than I know pretty young basketball team?
Yeah, young team, and they're getting better with each game, and just definitely have to go out and be aggressive and be ready for, their zone that they were playing and anything else that they've been, preparing for in the last week or so.
And the other thing that possibly / probably going to happen, Sage Willis is 9 away from 1,000 for her career, so it's going to happen eventually, whether it's Friday night or not. I guess talk about that and what an honor that is for her.
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment for anyone to do, and Sage is very deserving of it. She's a player, everyone wants to talk about her offensive abilities, but I'm more, enjoy watching her on the defensive end, and a lot of her offense comes from the way she plays defense, and very deserving of that, and someone who probably wouldn't tell anyone that she's 9 away. She's not a selfish player and definitely a team first player, but very deserving of.
I was just going to say that unselfish is another. Watched her the other night distribute the basketball.
Yeah.
And that's another beauty of a 1,000-point scorer, and still that unselfish.
Yeah, being able to, hit assists and hit other players for the ball, and she'll do anything to win the game. That's her priority, is winning the game, and it doesn't matter if she has 2 or 20 or whatever it may be. She just wants to be there for the team.
Well, we appreciate you being here tonight. Congrats on the great start. Good luck against North Central on Friday. Good luck in that holiday tournament. That's a difficult tournament. I mean,
a lot of tough
4
players
good teams are there. You, Montpelier, Bryan, and Fairview playing.
Yep, 4 great teams.
So that's a fun environment as well. We look forward to seeing you guys again. I think our first right there early on in 2023. So thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Conner Varner, head coach of the Stryker Lady Panthers, our first guest tonight. We turn our attention to Pettisville basketball coming up next.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
It's Thirsty Thursday at all the main stops in Northwest Ohio. What does that mean? It means that every Thursday, all day long, you will get any size fountain drink or any size coffee for only 79 cents. All day long, every Thursday, any size fountain drink, any size coffee or cappuccino. Stop in to your main stop and see everything they have to offer every day. Main stops, always there when you need us.
Hi, I'm Paul Rorick Jr. at the Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio. We hope that you and your family will have the best that the holiday season affords. The best of health, the best of family, and the best of happiness. The Fackler Monument Company sincerely wishes that you and your loved ones are safe this season and that the coming year will bring you success and happiness. Have a very Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Years from Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio. Serving families since 1924.
I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com. Welcome back here to JJ Wins in Holiday City. As we said, this is our last show of 2022. A couple of Wednesdays in a row off. We are back on January 4th. We will have Archibald girls basketball coach Brian Ziegler, Wauseon boys coach Chad Burt, and Eden boys basketball coach Matt Ripke, who just hit a milestone getting his 200th career win last week. And then on January 11th, Bryn Lehman from Defiance, Brock Homeyer from Bryan are the first two guests, and we're working on Jim Rosenhaus from the Cleveland Guardians radio network. It's going to be sometime in January, we hope. We're just trying to work around his schedule. And we'll let you know a date when it may not be a Wednesday. We might do a special Tuesday show. That was something that was on the table as well. Jason Waldvogel, the head coach of the Pettisville Blackbirds, with us. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hi, Andy. I appreciate you inviting us to come.
Thanks for being here. We were just talking a little while ago off air. Me doing play-by-play and you coaching at Pettisville is like a parallel 29 seasons of both. I think you're doing your job better than I am, though, I would assume.
I'm not so sure about that. But,
it depends on the day and who you ask, right?
Yep. Well, we've paralleled for quite a while, even back to high school days.
Yeah.
So I guess that means we're getting old.
Absolutely. But aging like fine wine is what I tell everybody.
That's right.
Not everybody agrees with that. So a rough year last year with just the 3 wins. Tell me a little bit about what this offseason was like for Pettisville girls basketball.
Last couple of years we've had to play kids probably out of position, younger kids. They did a great job. I think coming into the summer, we saw the future a little bit, and with the age-wise, we're going to be, the juniors and seniors playing juniors and seniors most of the time. There was an excitement, and they got into the gym June when they played really, really hard. Put a lot of time in, played their Tuesday night league. We saw some of that potential, and the girls got to play at a time where wins and losses didn't matter. We forgot about the past a little bit. They just went out and they started to discover that we had a lot of fun playing with each other, and that just created that excitement.
Is it fair to say last year that you had a few kids that, listen, we had to play them at varsity level because of the options. They probably should have been on JV or at least got a little more seasoning at the JV level.
Yeah, definitely. I think they, in somewhat, they got cheated a little bit. They needed to hone their skills a little bit against players that were kind of at their level, not only skill level, but physical level. I mean, it's a huge difference from a freshman, sophomore, playing against a junior or senior. And, we had a couple girls really hit the weight room this summer, and it's starting to show.
So already, we're not at Christmas yet. You've you're 4-4, so you've eclipsed last year's win total. You're seeing some of the benefits of playing some youth last year and kids that are now growing into their spot. What do you like about this group, Jason?
Well, they're just great kids. This is a group of kids that it's a lot of fun to be around. They love to be around each other, but they're soaking in some of the learning, and you can't ask for anything more. They're giving us their best. They're still learning. They're in situations now of close games. We've had 2 or 3 where, a few possessions and it could be a W, but they're learning along with it, and they're still learning each other. We brought a couple younger kids into the mix also, and but they come in every night and they want to learn. And we've got a couple of situations where it was pretty neat. I can think of one of our seniors. The one night we were talking about setting a screen, and a couple of kids just weren't getting it, and she said, no, the big's got a screen for a little. We want that switch. And I just looked at her, and this is one of our seniors that don't get as much time, and I looked at her and said, well, how do you know that? And she just looked at me and smiled and said, Coach, we've been listening. And then that kind of warmed my heart too. That we've had some tough times as far as wins and losses, but they're there every night to win.
And probably some moments where you thought to yourself, "Is all this sinking in?"
It is, exactly. And that and in knowing that they're really trusting what you're saying, and I think second half of the year we're really going to be a team to probably deal with.
Just one senior loss from the team last year and brought 7 back. I'll let you talk a little bit about your roster if you want this year, and kind of what they bring to the table for you at Pettisville.
Yeah, it starts with our seniors. We have 4 seniors. 2 of them had played extensively since freshman, and the other 2 have filled in. They're who we're turning to. We also, bring up a couple of other younger kids that are spotting in. It's kind of nice this year too. We've got some kids that have played positions they've had to, and we've kind of got them in the true position they need to. Ellie Greaser comes to mind. She's been our point guard for the last 3 years. She's probably not a true point guard. She's a true 2 guard. And we brought Olivia Miller up, who's a sophomore, who's running the point for us. And then they've kind of gelled together a little bit. And then, some of the kids, Ellie King, she's probably my player that has the best basketball IQ. She's been asked to do a lot of things that maybe she wasn't comfortable with. Now she can kind of settle into her role. And, we've got her. She's looking for everybody else. We've got her shooting the basketball a little bit, and that's where she's comfortable. Leah Beck, is one of those girls. She hit the weight room this summer. I think she put on about 15 pounds of muscle, and she's made herself into a very nice basketball player. She probably didn't see that her freshman year. And, Bella Strauss rounds out that senior group too. Bella is the ultimate senior, ultimate team player. She doesn't see as much time on the floor, but I guarantee she may be one of the best defenders, especially in practice, and she's making everybody else better.
And and from the sounds of it, and it starts with that senior class, you've got a group that's buying into their roles. And as a head coach for a lot of years and a lot of teams, that is one of the big factors in being successful. Does everybody buy in?
Yeah, they're definitely. I think the first 8 games here, we've tried to figuring out what were the roles a little bit. We thought we knew, and we're figuring some things out. And I got so many kids that come to mind. Grace Crawford, I look at her, and we had a talk earlier in the year. She probably could start for a lot of teams, but she's more comfortable coming off the bench. She's definitely someone in the post to deal with, but she does better coming off that bench. She's that spark, and Amanda Grimm and Holland Cleffenstein come in there, and they know they could be defensive sparks. They're probably not going to score in double digits every night. And if we get a couple buckets from them, we're happy. But they know they can make a difference in the game. And sometimes it's 1 or 2 possessions, but they're all happy doing that.
And Jason, your numbers are pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're sitting at 21. I'm not sure the last time we've had that many, and that makes a big difference in a program when we do a lot of things together, but we can split up on the JV and a varsity on each end. And I think we talked a little bit about that. We're not cheating the JV kids. they're really getting to work on, we may work on the same things, but they're really working on it at the level that they need to work on it. And when they get up to the varsity, they're going to have that skill level that, some of these older kids didn't get a chance to work on it at a level they were comfortable with. And, just to find some success too. I think that's a big part about it is, you got to play that level and get a little bit of success, and that drives that hunger a little bit more too.
In your 4-4 start, has there been any statistic that jumps out that you need to get better at, that maybe that's cost you a couple of your losses?
Yeah, I think the thing we talk about, first of all, rebounding. We're not a big team, and that's probably, coaches say that all the time anyhow. But I think probably the one thing is being consistent, and it's on both ends of the floor. I really like we're up about 15 points a game from where we were last year, so that's a great surprise. But it's that consistent piece that we're getting buckets when we need to. We have breakdowns on the defensive end too, where we're probably three games away from just a few possessions of the game where we don't have those lapses, where we probably maybe have a couple more W's. But we keep working at that type of a thing, and I think we're getting better each night. And so if we could get more games where we put the 4 quarters together and just don't have a quarter where we have a lapse, that's just going to make us better also.
Pettisville's like Stryker, too, also when it comes to scheduling. You like to get into the NWAL and play those teams. Listen, I understand playing Fayette twice is good because your AD is also here, and those are good gates. I mean, I get that.
Yes.
I understand those are money-making gates, too. But I think we're also learning, too, all joking aside, now that we're down to a single round in the BBC, will some of those doubles maybe go away? Are you looking to play other teams? Are you comfortable with where you're at schedule-wise right now? Talk a little bit about the schedule for Pettisville outside of the BBC.
Yeah, I think if we've looked back, we did it several years ago. We pumped up, and we probably had one of the toughest girls' schedules in the area for our size. We just went through a run right now where we played NWL teams, and it's a great thing some years, and this is a little bit tougher, but I think it'll pay off in the second half of the year. And we'd rather find out what we need to improve on against those better teams than sometimes you play some of those teams that are not as strong. You get away with a lot of stuff, and we kind of fool ourselves. So, but it's a balance. Yeah. To where we're looking at it, and if we could have got a couple more wins here early, you're looking for that signature win, and we didn't quite get that. But I think after the Christmas break here, we're going in. We open up the league on Friday night, and then I think we go to Emmanuel Christian right before the holiday, and then we're gonna jump into the second half of the year feeling pretty good about ourselves, especially at a 500. Record right now with kids that just haven't experienced that.
Let's talk BBC this year. On paper, what's it look like from your perspective, girls basketball?
I really think you look at graduation and things that happened. It probably brought everybody together fairly equal. I think it's one of those years where any given night, any team can pretty much grab a W. So we're going to have to be able to play each and every night. We feel pretty good about being able to be competitive in each of those games, and that's the last couple of years that was kind of the idea, just to be competitive in the games. Now we feel a little bit better about that. But I see the team being, or the league being very equal, and like I said, every given night. I think each team gives everybody a little bit different matchup. I don't think there's a runaway this year, but it's gonna be a fun year.
I would agree with that. You start with Hilltop on the road on Friday night. What do you know about the Lady Cadets this year?
Well, we've already played with them, played against them one time earlier. The Baker girl is definitely an athlete to handle. I think we learned from that. They're young. They've had a couple injuries that have hurt them this year, but when we played them early in the year, they had some kids step up, some freshmen, and that shot the ball really, really well. I don't think we thought we played as well as what we could have. So it's one of those things where I think if we go in there and we get some defensive stops, I think we gave them quite a few easy buckets, but then they hit a bunch of them that weren't so easy. But I think we feel pretty good about going in. The Baker girl is definitely going to be one of our focus. Her scoring around the bucket. She changes the game with her defense a little bit. And we know how we attacked it last time. We're probably not going to get a lot of easy buckets inside, but we've worked on some other things to try to attack them differently.
So, I forgot to ask Conner this. I'm trying to ask all the coaches that are on to get their thoughts on how seeding is going to work this year in the Northwest District. Are you taking kind of a wait-and-see approach with the use of the RPI, or where do you stand on it, I guess, now, and give me your overall thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of the things, I want to see how it works. I do have a few questions with it. Sometimes we compare it to football, and I don't know if that's a great comparison. But I kind of like the idea of the seeding. I really like the idea to be able to choose where we want to go. I think that's for Northwest Ohio basketball, that's a big thing. Talking about your following, that helps. So I like that idea of being able to place yourself on the bracket. But I don't think it's a bad idea. It kind of takes it out of the coach's hands. It really makes you look at, do I want to pump my schedule up a little bit? Because you got to get some of those signature wins to get a little bit higher seed. But I think it's probably good move for the future. I personally do really like being able to place myself on a bracket, though.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that all shakes out. You're at Hilltop Friday. You got a busy holiday. At Emmanuel Christian on Tuesday, home with Montpelier on the 23rd, and then Fayette in a non-league game on the 20th. And the Montpelier game's non-league too, right?
Yes.
So 4 games before we hit 2023 for you.
Yeah, and it's a catch-22. I think we're going to keep playing. And the schedule seems to bounce out where we get a few days off, but I've always, as a coach, I've hated that, taking 4 or 5 days off and coming back, and that first practice is just terrible.
Yeah, it is.
So that's going to be an advantage where we get some time. We've got some different outside activities that I'm looking forward to, and I think that's going to help our team be better too. We do a day where we practice and we go bowling for the afternoon and go out to eat. So, and we've got a couple other things planned, so that I think it's going to be a good holiday for us, and we'll get a lot of basketball in, but we'll get a lot of team activities in too.
Sounds great. Jason, thanks for being with us. Congratulations on the start. Best of luck here the rest of the way at Pettisville.
I appreciate Andy, and I appreciate everything that you've done for the basketball in Northwest Ohio these last several years. So hopefully we got a few more years together ahead of us.
I hope so too. I'm not going anywhere. My wife will not let that happen. Jason Waldvogel, head coach of Pettisville. The Lady Blackbirds, our second guest tonight. We talk Pettisville boys basketball with Brian Leppelmeier coming up next.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
It's Thirsty Thursday at all the main stops in Northwest Ohio. What does that mean? It means that every Thursday, all day long, you will get any size fountain drink or any size coffee for only 79 cents. All day long, every Thursday, any size fountain drink, any size coffee or cappuccino. Stop in to your main stop and see everything they have to offer every day. Main stops, always there when you need us.
Hi, I'm Paul Rohrig Jr. at the Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio. We hope that you and your family will have the best that the holiday season affords. The best of health, the best of family, and the best of happiness. The Fackler Monument Company sincerely wishes that you and your loved ones are safe this season and that the coming year will bring you success and happiness. Have a very Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Years from Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio. Serving families since 1924.
I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archbold. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archbold is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com. Welcome back to JJ Wins in Holiday City. Our final guest of the night is Pettisville boys basketball coach Brian Leppelmeier. Hi, Lepp. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
Appreciate the time off to, I know, not necessarily the greatest start or one you were hoping for, but you've been solid through most of the season, I would say, even though it's 3-3. Tell me a little bit about, I guess this is a question, kind of a baseline question for everybody, what you guys did and if you were pleased as a head coach and what the kids put in the offseason.
I think the offseason was a good offseason for us. Last year at our awards banquet, told all the kids our summer prior to that was not very good. Injuries, kids just gone, certain kids gone at certain times, never really got together, never really gelled. I thought this past summer we kind of laid it out and really told the kids, what do you want to do? And laid that out, competed in several shootouts, University of Toledo, Findlay, Bluffton, had a couple of scrimmages, and then I think even through the preseason we scrimmaged some solid teams, so very pleased with what went on in the summer and the preseason.
I'm glad you mentioned it that way because any coach can come up and say every offseason's great, but to be that open and honest with the kids that it just wasn't, and it's not good enough. And maybe that played a role in being 12-11 last year a little bit too, possibly.
It could have been a possibility. I mean, we've had a few kids just based on injuries. You throw COVID in there. A few of them didn't have much of a summer or preseason. So I think our kids know that I'm very honest with them. And when you're doing something well, I'll tell you that. But then when we need to have some adjustment or that's not getting the job done, we'll also tell them that as well.
Scrimmage-wise, who'd you guys match up with before the season?
We had Swanton, Napoleon, Kalida, and Wayne Trace.
Okay, so obviously you got to see a lot of different styles in those scrimmages.
Correct. Some very, very talented players, well-coached teams, and I thought our kids responded very well in those scrimmages. Again, in the scrimmages, you're not scouted, so there's some things you can do, maybe one-on-one, but then once you get into games and you're getting scouted and they're taking certain things away and our kids have to make adjustments or we have to make adjustments. So, that's always the fun part, especially about this preseason is working on that, seeing how teams are going to guard you.
So we mentioned you split your first 6 at 3-3. Overall, as you think back to those games right now, how would you assess how you guys have played for the most part?
I think for the most part, at times well, and I think at other times, and I think we understand what we need to do. With the teams that we have on our schedule, especially early on, you're going to get exposed if you don't do something well. If you don't come out focused on the defensive end, we miss some assignments. If you don't execute on the offensive end, you're going to get exposed. And then on the other side is the fact that when you do pull out the win and you battle hard, that's because you've earned it. So I really thought probably the highlight was probably going down to Paulding, overtime game, on the road. A very talented Paulding team. Every one of those kids can score. Their top 7 all can score. And we battled out a road win in overtime, and our kids were really locked in. So you use that as a point of reference. Sometimes you do something well, you want to point to that game, and then the other games you can use as a point of reference and say, hey, if we play like that, we're not going to get the job done.
So you bring 4 starters back from last year, and this may seem like a fairly obvious question, but as your job's concerned, when you have 4 starters back and a pretty good amount of experience, how does that change what you do in practice and what maybe you can get away with? Now, I don't want to say you don't take anything for granted, but you don't have to coach up as much, I guess, in practice because they know what to expect out of certain drills and what you're trying to get across in the program. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. You would think that.
Okay.
But I think at all times, and I think that's the expectation. And I think our kids know that, and I refer to that a lot. So the expectation is there. It's probably a different attitude regarding coaching those kids and the way they should be in practice. And I want the kids we even discussed it today in our team meeting before practice of getting them to take some more ownership that, hey, you need to be the loudest voice in the gym. You need to, lead more as players. So it's coming along. And it's just a process. To sit there and think you're going to be at mid-season form right now is not the case. And especially with the schedule that we play, it's not going to be the case. I think we're finding out what we need to work on and get exposed. That way we can work on that and get prepared for our league season in the second half.
You referenced the Paulding game, so when you were cooking in that game and playing well, and we saw you play well in the second half with Stryker in particular, what are you doing well, and where have you been exposed? What areas have you been exposed?
I think when you're playing well, you're guarding the basketball. You're sitting down in a stance. You're not just defending one action. We talk about our kids. I think our kids do a good job of taking away a team's initial action. Well, they're not going to give up. Good teams are not going to give up. So we have to continue to play and not lose focus. And we don't take any breaks on the defensive end. So I think when you're not playing well, you have one guy out of sync. I mean, the teams that we play, you're going to get exposed. On the offensive end, it's just executing, making sure that we, adjust to what we're supposed to be doing, especially the way that we're guarded. Obviously, Caden draws a lot of attention inside, so we're getting the doubles, the triples, and we have to make sure that we adjust to make teams pay for doing that.
One area when we saw you against Stryker that I know that you're hoping to continue to develop is the depth and how many you can play off the bench and play comfortably that are going to help you. That's still a work in progress, I assume.
It is. I think early on with some of the teams that we played, very guard-heavy teams that we, had to kind of rely on a six-man rotation. And hopefully as we move forward in a few of these games to develop a little bit more depth of getting some guys on the floor. But again, sometimes that's based on the matchups that you're going to face.
Yeah. BBC this year, you're getting ready to play your first conference game soon. What do you like about the BBC this year? How does it look from a boys basketball perspective?
I think it's going to be a very balanced, competitive season. Every year there's graduation, so everybody can say, "Oh, this person graduated here and here." Well, there's kids stepping up, and I think in our league we have very good basketball coaches. So some people think, "Oh, that they're not going to have this player." Well, yeah, but they're bringing up other players, and they're molding, their team, and everybody's well coached, and they're scouting. And then when you play one round, I think it levels the playing field for everybody else. Before, prior to last year, right now we'd have 4 or 5 league games in possibly. So with a single round, I think it just levels the playing field, and I think it makes it very competitive. And I really liked it last year. It really brought it down to, the end of January and the beginning of February that it was competitive, and there was a lot of teams that still had, a dog in the show.
And you get Hilltop to start it tomorrow night. You mentioned coaches. This is the one team in the conference where there is a new coach.
Correct.
In Conner English. So tell me about what you've seen, maybe what they're doing a little bit differently under Conner.
Well improved. Hilltop, all the other kids, they're extremely quick. They shoot it well. They put it on the floor, have been competitive in all their games, picked up their first win on Monday. So playing very well, and it's always a team that you got to sit down, you got to guard. They're going to attack the basket, and from what I've watched, Conner has them. They're playing extremely hard. So it's one of those things. You got to keep them off the glass. You got to keep them out of the lane.
So people that follow local basketball around the area and around the state probably know the name Jerry Easter. We were talking off the air. You saw them in a loss to Emmanuel Christian, one of the best sophomores, not just in Ohio but in the country. What were your thoughts, if you could speak to that to our listeners, on him? And you said there's more to him than just Emmanuel Christian. It's more than Jerry Easter.
Correct. I thought it was a great game for us. We picked them up late last season. We were looking for a game. And last year, in the tournament, Stryker beats them. So we think, Emmanuel Christian could be in our district. So, what a great time to have our kids face that team. Well, now they've moved up to Division III, but they came to town very talented. Jerry is very athletic. Just put so much pressure on the basketball defensively. And we told our kids, once he gets in the open court, we're really not going to defend him at the basket. So trying to keep it out of his hands as much as possible. I thought Joey Ripke did a nice job on him, held him to 22. So I think that was a win in terms of his matchup. But they have other good players. Jalen Brown, very good point guard. Nate Miles, a freshman, just very balanced, and their kids play very hard.
And you've got that NWOAL schedule as well with Wauseon and Archibald and Evergreen, and you've already played Delta, and so you play a lot of those schools like we were talking with Jason about as well in the league.
Correct, and in several schools in the GMC, and I just think it helps us become more well-rounded. We have to prepare for a different opponent each week, and kids have to make adjustments. So we really like it.
So boys' numbers through the program, where are they? I guess high school and even on the way down through junior high.
9 through 12, we're sitting at 33, which is good. 8th grade, we're at 12, and we're 7th grade level. And then we got a dozen in each, the 5th grade and the 6th grade.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, our numbers are up. We went through a period. The class last year, senior class, was the last of about 3 classes in a row that the number, just in terms of just students in those grades, especially on the boys' side, just not real high. Great kids and all that, but there just wasn't a lot of numbers. So we're back to having some classes or just bigger classes.
So I got to ask you then, where do you lean on the RPI numbers and how we're going to get seeds done in the Northwest District?
Well, last year, obviously, the Martin RPI, he was doing it. So it was one of those things that I would, look at throughout the year. And actually, when it came to tournament time, looked at what the Martin RPI, and that actually came out on Twitter and social media, what the Martin RPI would have been compared to the coaches' vote. And I think in our district, there might have been a switch of a 7 and an 8 seed. So I was okay with it. I know there's some concern, and I don't know the exact formula. There's some people with a little bit of concern, but, I think it's okay to give it as a pilot. And I echo what Jason said, that still feel that, as coaches, you still want that choice of where you go in the district and not just be like an NCAA seed.
Yeah, because it matters where Pettisville goes to play in terms of that crowd following, too.
Correct.
In a lot of instances.
Yeah, I've been in a couple meetings, and, that was echoed by some of the other coaches in different divisions, and from Toledo, of just being able to still select, if I'm the 1 seed, well, I'm going to play this game at this time, still rewarding, I guess, the top seeds where they can go, and actually even rewarding the other teams that, you're the 3 or 4 seed, to select where you want to go.
So this is more with your AD hat on. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that we're ever going to make that change where it's going to be like baseball, softball, volleyball, where higher seed hosts? I honestly thought that when COVID hit and we did it that year, I thought this is opening that door and we're not going to go back to the neutral sites. Do you foresee that ever happening?
I don't know, but I'm glad I'm on the air so I can speak my opinion. I'm a strong supporter of in basketball not having better seed host.
And why would that be? Why do you like it?
I'll give you a great example. So last year, Pettisville and Stryker, we're in the sectional final. If that was at Pettisville, to me, that's not fair to the Stryker kids. If that's at Stryker, not fair to the Pettisville kids. I think that tournament atmosphere at Napoleon, and the thing is, in Northwest Ohio, we have great gymnasiums that host tournaments and do a great job from, Paulding, Bryan, Napoleon, at the sectional level. So I just think it's great. I just think as you end that regular season, there's just something special about, hey, we're done. It's going to a neutral site, and that's tournament time. And that's me growing up, here in Williams County, and you were going to play at Bryan in the tournament. I mean, and that was just something that was special. So I'm a big proponent of keeping it neutral sites. And I know there's probably push because it's just easier from probably the Northwest District Board's stance of, we can just go to the better seed. But I still think there's a lot. And with all the new gymnasiums and facilities, let's showcase some of those facilities, and people just do a good job hosting tournaments.
Most of the other districts, it's already in play where you're at the higher seed, right? Or at least in a good number of them, anyways.
There's a number. It's not as widespread as you think it would be.
Okay.
I was in the Southwest District for a time, Division IV sectional, still at Piqua. So it's not everywhere. I just think for a common fan, let's say the sectional finals at Bryan, it's great. They can go see 2 games. They can be there. If it's not a split session, if it is a split session, hey, you have great crowds. I just think there's still something special about it. So I'm always going to be a proponent of neutral site.
Hey, I was just devil's advocate. I'm with you because for us, like in baseball or whatever, we've got to make that decision because we got to go find one game at one location, whereas now, like you said, you get 2.
And I understand it maybe from a baseball perspective. You're dealing with weather, and it's easier just with one site. You're dealing with weather. You're also dealing with daylight. But I'd like volleyball to go back to neutral sites. I just think that's, there's just times that, Archwold was a sectional site. What a great site.
We record this, so we're going to go ahead and forward this conversation, you and I, to the Northwest District, where I'm sure it's going to rattle cages.
They know where I stand. I've talked to a few of them.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure that they get a copy of this. Hey, Lep, thanks for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. Next week, we'll be doing the Thursday, the 22nd game in Bryan. Before that, you go Hilltop on Thursday and Fairview on Saturday before we get to the Bryan game. So look forward to seeing you guys in Bryan on the 22nd.
All right, great. Appreciate the coverage.
Thanks for being here with us tonight. Brian Leppelmeier, Jason Waldvogel, Conner Varner, all with us. Remember, 2 weeks off, so have a great Christmas and New Year's. We'll be back on January 4th with Brian Ziegler, Chad Burt, and Matt Ripke. Sports Weekly, driven by Terry Hendricks Ford, JJ Wins, Bryan Parks and Rec Department, Fackler Monument Company, and the main stops of Northwest Ohio.